Okay, so now we move to the chapter number 7 about the file handling. We learn about the computer file, hierarchy, performing the file operation, control break logic, merge file, master, transaction, file processing, and random access file. Okay, now the first about understanding the computer file. The computer file is a collection of data stored on permanent storage device, such as your computer hard drive on the cloud, DVD, or so on here, right? And basically, you have some sort of type of the file here. The first one, the text file. You can store for the number, name, and salary that can be read by the text editor here. And you also have the binary file, the image or the music here, and it's not encoded as the text. You have many types that time. And for the computer file, you have the file name. You have the file name. That is the way you can identify the name given to the computer file. You have, and also for each of file, you have the file extension also, right? So see, basically in any operating system, you store in the file here, right? You have see normally have the name here, and if you want to get the name, the name for the file, what is it? This one, right? How can I send it? View. What's it? How can I show the extension for this one?
Yeah, under view, and then show at the bottom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, final extension. Okay, so basically, yeah, you can see you have the every file, you have the file name and extension here. So basically, extension to give you the idea what is the format of file that I think about. We have the PowerPoint or PDF and so on. Okay. Okay, so basically, a computer file has a specific creation time and modification date, right? That's why you see when you look in the detail here, right? When you look in the have the specific date modified, what is the type, and what's the sizing, right? Okay, so on. You have many, and you can sort it based on the date modified, or based on type, or based on sizing. The view. Right, so the file size measure in byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, and terabyte. So remember that the kilobyte here, they told is 1,000 byte. Actually, it's not. It is 1,028, right? 34, sorry, 34, right? 2 raised to the power 10 here. Okay. That's the thing here, right? You can see what the file and what is the time, what the date, and size. So organizing the file, you can organize in the directory or folder, same, right? The organization unit on storage device here, and the path is a combination of disk drive plus a complete hierarchy of the directory here, right? So basically, you can put directory inside directory, right? And you can put you can have a multiple level of the directory in the path. And for the data hierarchy here, describes the relationship between data component. It can have the character, it's a letter, number, on special symbol here. Field, the data item represent the single attribute of the record. A record, a group of the fields that go together for some logical reason. A file is a group of related records. A database is how related file data in table here. Nothing but this one. Nothing but this one. What is it? Let me give you some example. Right? So I can explain some definition. This one. This one. No. Okay. Why? Anyway, for this one, right? So think about this one here. I have information about the file names, employee data here, right? So with this last one here, I have the multiple row here. And remember, if you work the database, if you work with this file here, each of the row here they call the record. Record, right? What's the record? So in the record here, you have multiple fields. I see. That's the process. This one, you have the record. And this one, they call it a field. Right? So basically it's the record. That means you have the row here. That means you think about each employee, you have the specific record. Right? And for each specific employee, you have the multiple field. And one is for name, and the other one for address here, and the other one for pay rate here. They call it the field. Right? So basically you have to think about in the table you have the row here and you have the column here. Remember, row that means you have a record for each employee. And the column here, that means you have specific field for each employee. It can be name, it can be address, or it can be pay rate here. Okay. Yeah, you can look on this one here, right? And each of them, they are record here. A file may contain many records, right? Many records, and for each record here, it may contain many fields here, and each of them it can be name, a last name, and pay rate, and date of birth, and so on here. Right, so it's a file operation in the use data file in the program. In order to work with the file operation here, in the file operation to use the data file in the program, you have to declare a file identifier. So what is the file identifier here? You have to tell if you want to store it or you want to take it out. Right? Think about in the case of input here, that means you get the data from user and you store it into the file. And you will store the file. And the output, that means you get into the file here and you take it out. Right? That's the case here. Now, and in the case, if you want to work with the file here, you have to use a file identifier here. You can think about the file identifier the same in the case you work with the variable. That's all. Right? You can think about the file identifier, it's a variable here. So what is it? You assign this variable here to the database. You work with the process of the writing here, right? And you assign the update data here, the identifier here is the process you want to take it out here, processing here, right? So the process here, if you want to open the file here, you have to use the keyword. Remember this one here, they are keyword, right? So I think it should be better here. I use the process. Keyword here. So I highlight the keyword here, so you can see you have to use the keyword here. That is the keyword. Okay. So remember here, if you want to do with the file operation, the first step, the first step here, you have to declare a file identifier. Remember, the file identifier is the variable you associate with the file you processing later. So remember, that is variable here, variable name. You can think about that variable name. It can be any name. Right? You can think about X or Y or number or score or whatever. But I mentioned that whenever you work with the variable here, try using the meaningful name. Right? So it's very easy for you to follow what's going on here. So instead of fixing where's X, what is X, what is the Y here, you give it specific name, right? Think about the salary or our work or so on. Right? Okay. So this one also, it can be any name, but you see this one later on, it associate with the name here. It associate with the name employee data.dat. So try to using it meaningful and relate together. Okay. So yeah. So the first step here, when you want to work with the file operation here, you have to declare the file identifier. You can think that is the name here, right? And also you can use the keyword here, input, that means you want to the process to store into the file. And the output, that means you want to read to the file and do the processing, right? Now, if you want to open the file here, remember you have to use the keyword open here. Right? You have to use the keyword open here. And you have to matching with the file identifier here. You declared before. And you associate with the physical file you saw here. Make sense? Okay. Of course, if you put X here, you can put X here, it's okay. Or you put Y here or Y here, it's okay. But it not really makes sense to the end user. Right? So that's why try to using the file in identifier that's meaningful to the end user, to the user here. Right? Okay. So that's a step here. You define for the file identifier. You open the file, right? Remember that if you open the file, you have to use a combination of the keyword open here, and you associate to the file identifier with the file name here. Okay. Now, if you want to read a file from the and process data here, that process here. inputs. That means the process you want to read it here, right? Input here, name from what? File identifier. So remember here, to make it simple, the file identifier here, that means you're working with each of the record. Right? It's watching each record, and you know that in the record here, in each record here, you can have the name, and you can have address, and you can have the by date here. Except if you look on this one here, if you look into the diagram, that's in the photo here. Now think about this one. Alright, think about this one. Alright, I have name here. Alright, I have address here. Alright, and I have rate here. Think about this one. Alright, so each of them, they are one record. And in the record here, I have many fields. Right? So we can think about, in the case you work with the file identifier, that means you work with multiple records. And inside that, each of the record here, you have multiple fields. Right? So you can come back to the slide here. You can see how I work with this one. This one. Right? If you want to reading a file from and processing data here, you input the name from employee data. You input the address here from the employee data, and you put the pay rate here from the employee data here. So remember, you can make it simple here. This one, it is an identifier, and this one associate with the file name here, right? And you can think about this one. It is when you work with the record, and each of record you can have the name and address and the pay rate field. Make sense? Okay. Later on, we work with some specific example here, so you have more idea of this one. Alright. So now, in the case if you want to reading from the file and processing the data here, right? So programming language, you have many words. But remember, the pseudocode, they try to work the generic way only. That means they try to work the logic way only. So you can apply the process to any specific programming language, right? So reading from the file and processing data here, programming language, they have many different ways of determining how much data to input here. And in many language, delimiter such as the comma, semicolon, or type character is stored between the data field here. Okay. Now think about this one here. Right? You think about this one here. You have think about that is the way you store into the data here, right? So you see in that one you have the multiple employee here, and each of them you can think about one record. For each of them here again, for each of employee here you have multiple field here, right? And each of them it can be the name, it can be address field, and it can be the pay rate here. And it depends on the programming language. Some of them they can put the comma here, some of them they can put any character here. Okay. So how can you store it in here, right? It's actually they store it in continuously here, right? So one record here, name, address, and pay rate, name, address, and pay rate here, and it stores the process continuously in the memory here. Okay. Okay. Now, in the case you work with performing the file operation here, right? Some of the process you can work here. The first one is sequential file here. The program read all the record in this file from the beginning to end, processing one at a time. That means you think about this one here, right? Sequential, that means you do it one by one. You do it one by one. You do it one by one. You do it one by one, right? So see, you have many records for the employee A and B and C and D and E and so on. You read it one by one, 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 right? And you can do the processing here. The sorting here, that's the process of placing record in order by value in the specific field. I think about you have multiple name here, and you have a multiple address here, and you have multiple pay rate here, right? Pay rate here. Of course, you can sort it based on name. You can sort it based on address, or you can sort it on pay rate here. Right? So if you look in the Excel also, right? If you look in the process of Excel here, it's the process of Excel. You have multiple you have the case of the sorting here in the Excel, right? Okay, you can sort based on name, you can sort based on address, or you can sort based on pay rate here, and then you can sort it in the ascending order or descending order. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so the sorting is a process of placing in record in order by the value in specific field or field here, right? It can be in ascending order because sort in the order from the lowest to the highest value, or in the descending order, record sort in the order from the highest to the lowest value here. So if you want to writing data in the file here, so when you want to store data in a computer file on a persistent storage device here, you write to the file. You write to the file. So what is it? Remember, if you want to read it, you use the input. Right? If you want to write it here, you use the output. Right? You want to write into the put, right? So see, you have to use that output here. Remember, the output here, it is a keyword. Right? So see, employee here, it is a record. Right? It's a record. And you see, in the record here, you have three fields: name, address, and pay rate. That's all. So in the output, name, address, and pay rate to employee here, that means that process you write name, address, and pay rate into the one record in one row. And of course, if you have the multiple employee, you have to do it for multiple times. Right? You have to do it multiple times. Say, think about it here. I have I have the 10 street here. I have the 14 here. I done it for one row. Right? If I want to do the second one, I have to do it for another output here, and name, address, and pay rate for the second employee here. Right? And of course, what do you think? If I have multiple employee here, what is the best option I do? Loop, right? Yes. That I mentioned. That's very clear. Right? So remember, if you want to do it for multiple times and repeat the process again and again and again here, you use a loop. You use a loop here. Okay. Of course, when you do the process file here, right? When you done this process file here, you have the option to open it, and you have the action to close it here, right? You have to close it here. And so when you finish using the file here, the program should close the file here. Right? Always close every file you open. Otherwise, you have no way to modify it here, right? Okay, so also we have the default input and output device also. It can be the keyboard and monitor, and some of them do not require opening and closing it. Now, a program that performs the file operation. Backup file. So what's the backup file? Backup file is a process you copy, kept in the case value need to be restored to the original state. Right? So think about I have a file here, right? I have a file here. Right? I want to modify something. Right? I want to modify something here. It should be better for me. I keep the original file code, right? So in the case, if you want the file here, right, it should be better you set the place here and set active and put there the name, not the same name. So in that case, I create the copy version, and for in the copy version here, I can modify anything. But the original one, I still kept it here, right? So I can come back to the original version whenever I want it. Okay. So basically, in the process, when you work with the backup file here, right? When you work with the backup file here, you can copy kept in case when you need to restore to the original state here. The backup copy is called the parent file, and the newly revised is called the child file. Okay, so that's the case. That's some definition of it. Now, think about this one here. I have the program that perform a file operation here. I have the file here. Remember that I have a file here. I don't have the file. Sorry. Wait. Yeah. I already have the file here. And the name of the file is employee data.dat. I already have the file. And in that file, I have the multiple employee already. Right? I have multiple employee here. And each employee, I have the three fields here. I have name, address, and the pay rate here. Okay, now the program here. I have the program I want to read in each employee record here from the input file. I change the employee pay rate here. I think about I make promotion here. Each of them I change the pay rate from the to each of them I have the I receive increase of 2 here. Right? Think about if I have the pay rate 10 now, I have 12. I change it to 12, right? If I have 8 here, I change it to 10. Right? So basically the process you see. If you look on this one, what is it? I need to accept into the file. Right? I need to accept into the employee data file. I need to read every single record. So for each of the single record here, I have to take it out the pay rate field. Right? And for each apathetic pair, when I take it out, I just add it to number 2. That's all. So when I add each of them to number 2, what is it? I need to store it into the new file. Make sense? That's all. So what is it? What I do with this program here? Now we see this, what's this program. You know that process one here. What's this one here, right? I need to read this one. That's why I have input file here. That is not one I already got it here, right? I get it, I take it out, right? And this one is it. File identifier. You can think about that as a variable name. And later on, I associate this one with the physical data file. Right? That is this one. That's the keyword. And the new here, update the data here. It is a file identifier of the update file. And this one, the process I want to write into the file. That's why I have the keyword output here. Make sense? You have to remember about the keyword here. Input file, that is the process I read it. I take that. Output file, that means I store it into the file. I write it into the file, right? And this one, variable, that is variable, the file identifier. Okay, now I have name, I have address, I have a parent, and this is constant here, right? Because everyone they have raised by 2 is constant here, right? So see, I work with the housekeeping here. It doesn't matter, but anyway, the housekeeping. What is it? In the housekeeping here, I need to open the file. I need to open the file. I need to read every single record of the file. So that process, I open. What is it? See, it comes from the file identifier. And I associate with the file. I got it here. Make sense? That's the process I open the file. That's all. I open the file. That's the process I open the file here. Also, I need to write into the new file here again. I need to open the file here also. I ready to in order to write into the new file. Right? So what is it? What is it? This is the process I read for the first record. Right? I read the first record here. You remember the input here. That means the process you read it. Right? You read it the name. You read the address. You read the parent from what? From the file identifier. You know that file identifier, that is process you work with the record by record. Right? So this one, that's the process I read. Think about this one. I have multiple employees here, right? I have multiple employees here. So what is it? I open the 2 files. I ready in order to read it and write it. And also I accept in the first record first. I accept in the first record. So what is it? I keep doing it until the end of the file. EOS here, that means I keep doing the same process with until the end of the file. Right? So if not end the file here, I go to the detail loop. What is it? Make a guess. What I do in the detail loop? Make a guess.
Make the base to.
Yeah, you keep the name same. You don't change anything with name. You keep address name. Sorry, you get address the same. The only thing you want to change is that you increase the pay by 2. Right? So what is it? You see, I don't touch anything with name. I don't touch anything with name. I don't touch anything with address. I don't touch it. But the pay rate here, I increase the pay rate by 2 here. Make sense? Now think about this one. I have first record here. I have a living in 10 sheet and have the pay 10 here. So what is it? That's the process. I take it out. I store name is a here. That's the name. I take it out. Address here. It is 10 sheet. And I take it out. Pay rate here. Pay rate here. Number 10. That process. I take it out. I read it and I store it into the name here. Into the variable name here. Make sense? Now see. In my body here, I don't change anything name. I keep the same. In the address here, I do not change anything like that. But the pay rate, I change it by 2. I increase by 2. So what is it? After that, I write the same name. I put here that process I write. I save the same name here. I write the same address here. But the update pay rate here. Right? Into the file. Into the update here. That's all. Right? That's all. Right? So see, that's the loop here. You're done with the one record. If you want to move on to the next record, of course, you have to read for the input, address, and pay rate here. That's exactly the same with the mainline logic, right? You see, initialize here. Keep doing it until the end of the file. Right? And every time you read it here. Make sense? You got it? Okay.
So
What's
you're
the
not changing name, address. I presume you're just inputting it so that it.
No, here's the thing. You have two files. You have two files, right? You read the data in one file. You update the pirate and you write into the new file. Name the same, address the same, but the pirate is not the same. I see in my slide here. I see what is the process. Think about this one. Think about this one, right? So what I do is a housekeeping. I open this file. Sorry. I open this file. I open this file. I open the another file here. I put it later on here. What is it? I read for the first record. So now I assign name to the variable here. I assign address here to the variable here. I assign the rate here to the variable here. By rate here. Right? Okay. Now from the this one here. So I go to the loop here, right? If not at the file here, I go to data loop. What I did to loop here? I just change this one. I just change this one now. So what I said again, I have to write. I take the name. I start here. I take address. I start here, and I increase by 12 here. I start into new file. You have two separate files. One file you read it, take it out value, modify, do some modification, some calculation, and you start into new file. Right? So see in the process here. You can see it in the process here, right? I can run it by slide here. So we see what happened. My slide. Yeah, that's the first step. I have the file here. I open the file. I open both two files here. That was the first step I do it here. Sorry, not this one. Open the file. Open the file. I'm ready with two files. Now, input here. That means I set it into the first record of the file. And I store address. Sorry, I store name with A. I take it out address with first street here, and I take it out by rate with number 10 here. That's all, right? I got it for the first time. Now I go to the loop. Yeah. It end of the file here? No, right? So I go to detail loop here. I just increase by 12 here. So what is it? I copy everything is the same. I put A here. I copy the same. I put the first street here. This one, I store number 12 here. And now I move to I read to the next record. I do the same. I start here until the end of the file here. Right? Okay, that's all. That process here. See? Yeah, you keep doing it. Keep doing it here. So that is the case of the file processing here. So basically, in the file processing, I just hope you just understand the concept here. If you look into the project and zero code here. Remember, input file that means you process, you read from data. Output file that process, you write into the data, right? And also you have the process, you have to define for file identifier, and later on you have to associate file identifier to the file, associate file identifier to the file. Okay. Now open it here, and remember input here that the process, you read it, you take it out, you read it, and you assign it to the value to the specific variable here. Output here that is process, you write in the file. That's all. Okay. So you see that is in the pseudocode here. That is a process in pseudocode. You input file, you output file, you need here, right? You need for each record here, you have name, address, and by rate here. That is constant here. Housekeeping, open to file. Read the first record. That's a housekeeping. You know that housekeeping, you just do it one time only. You get that in. And now, why is not and the file here? You go to the data loop. Data loop is it. You just change the by rate. You don't touch anything with a name and address. It keeps the same. You just increase here, and now in output here. That means you write in this new file. So when you're done with one record here, of course, you need to move on to the next record here. You move on to the next record of the original file. Make sense? That's all. You got it? And remember, when you done this, close file identifier, close file identifier. Make sense? Okay. Okay, that is one of the application you can work with the file here. That means you read it, processing, update it, and write it in the file here. The other one you can work with the process of the understanding control break logic here. So what is it? What is a control break? Control break is temporary detour in the logic of the program. A control break program uses a change in the value, initiate the special action or the processing here, and the control break report group of similar data together. Right? Think about this one here. Remember, if you want to work with the control break here, remember that the record must be in the sequential order. Think about, you have to sort it in the ascending order or descending order. That is mandatory requirement when you work with the control break here. Now think about this one. If you look in the database here, if you look in my database, right? Again, I have the multiple employee here. They live in the name and the city and the state here. Now, I sort it in the sequential order by state here. Remember that if you want to work with control break here, you have to make sure you have at least one field. Sort it into the sequential order, right? So that's why I see I have Alabama, I have Alaska, and Arizona here. Right? Now, what is the control break? I just do it, everything keeps the same here, right? See, same Alabama here, same Alabama here, same Alabama here. But now, Alaska, I put the control break here. I put something about, I can count them, how you have the 3 employees in Alabama here, right? And again, Alaska here, I can put the control break here. You have 5 employees in Alaska, and so on. Make sense? That's the case here, right? Cow for Alabama here, cow for Alaska here, and cow for Arizona here. So how I can do it? Because I compare the field state here. If they are the same, I keep increasing them. You know that's the process of accumulator, right? And what is the first action if you want to work with the accumulator? Tell me. I mentioned it many times. If you want to do the accumulator, what is the first action?
When you set it to 0.
Yes, you have to initialize 0, right? See, I have to initialize 0 here. So see, this one, Alabama, increase 1. The same or not? Same, increase by 2. Same or not? Same, increase by 3. Same or not? Stop. Print it out to you. Right? So when done this one again, if you move this one, you have to reset it 0 again. Make sense? If it's not the same, you have to reset it again. 0 again, otherwise keep increasing this one. Okay, that is the process of accumulator. Accumulator, remember that you have to maintain accumulator. You have to initialize and you have to reset it. You have to set it 0 at the beginning of the loop. Okay? So how I do with this program here? You see how I do with this program in the pseudocode and in this one here. Right? This is how we do it here. Alright. You have many example control break report here, right? All employee list in the order by department number, right? New page starting from each department, all books the same, it's in the order by category. You have many things here, right? So now, in the case of the single level control break here, it's a detour based on the value of the single variable here, and you use the control break field to hold the periods. Remember that it's a process here. You have to use the control break here to hold the previous value here because you want to compare it's the same or not. If you want to compare, you have to hold the value here to compare, right? Okay, you have to hold here. Okay. So now for this one here, now what is it? Think about this one here, right? I want to make a control break here, logic break here. I want to count how many in the Alabama, how many in Alaska, and how many in Arizona. So what is it? Process here, right? Think about this one here, right? I have input file and in file here. For this program, I don't change anything. I just need to read it only. Right? That's why I don't have the output file here. I don't want to write in new file. I just read it here. That's why I have input here, right? And in file here, it is a file identifier, right? Okay, so what is it? Get ready. What is it? Get ready here. Forget about this. This about the presentation only, right? About the format only. Right? But the thing here, I need to open the file. And I associate the file identifier to the file name here. And again, I read the first record. Make sense? I read the first record here. I read the first record. I read the first record. Now, if you remember what I mentioned here, you need to hold the private value here, right? That's why I see I have old state here is a state. I got it right now. Right? So what is it? What do you think? If I read the first record here, what is old state now? What is old state now? What's the value of old state?
Alabama.
Yes, I read the first one. Right? I read the first one. I got here. See, that's the action. I read the name. I read the city. I read the state here. And the state here is Alabama. And I keep track of this one. So old state now, Alabama. Right? Remember this one also. 0 here. Accurate. Okay? So now what happened here? You see, I ready with the file. I read the first one here. And I know that the first one is now Alabama. Right? The old state here now Alabama. So what action? What's the next action here? Right? So I read the first one here. Alabama. Right? I read the first one Alabama here. Now what is action? Why? Okay, so after this one, old state is Alabama here, right? Okay. So what is it? What's the next action here? Yes, this one here, right? So now, of course, I have to look here. I keep doing it until the end of the file, right? So not end of the file here. I go to the produce report here. So what I do with the produce report here? What is it? I compare. I compare here, right? If state is not old state here, if state is not old state, that means you use a break here, right? Right? But if it's equal, that means you will keep increasing the counter here, right? So that's why here, right? That's why here. If the same, if it's not the same, you use the break. If not the same, you just increase here. You increase here, right? You increase the counter here, and of course, after that, after the step here, you have to move to the next record by the reading again. Now see, if the state is not the old state here, you call for the control break. So what do you do with control break? You stop it. You reset it to 0. Right? You stop it, of course, you stop it and you have to print it out, right? You have to print out how many here. Right? You have to print it out how many here, and you have to reset it to 0 because you want to move on to the next stage. If you do not reset it, it keeps increasing. Make sense? And again, you have to keep check again. Make sense? Now see what happened with my program here. Starting Alabama, right? Now I did it the same, increase by 1, right? Read the second one, the same, increase by 1, number 2 here. The same, increase by 3. 3 now, right? Now, not the same. Not the same, I go to control break. What is control break? I print it out, count here. 3 in Alabama. Now, reset it to 0, right? Reset it to 0. And of course, I have to keep track of the new state here. It's Alaska here. And I do the same. From Alaska here, right? The same. 1. The same. 2. The same. 3. The same. 4, and so on. Make sense? Okay. So the process here, remember that you have to look into the slide here. You always have action to keep track of the state you are looking at. At the beginning, you always reset it to 0 at the beginning. Right? So now, you read every time you read the record here, you have to compare if the state you are looking now is the same with you keep check or not. If not the same, for sure you go to the break. Once the break, you print it out how many count, and you have to reset to 0. And also we have to keep check of the new state here, right? And of course, if they're the same here, that means the same here. What is it? You just increase the count by 1. Make sense? That's all. That's the process here. Okay, that process here. Now see, keep doing here, keep doing here, right? Keep doing here. Of course, later on you have to close the file here, right? You got it? Okay. So I give you one of the activity here. You can do it now or today. It's up to you. Oh, no. No, that is. So you guys can take a short break for 5 minutes. I give you later.